Okay, the next stage of our croissant making is making a butter block. You'd need 12 ounces or 3 sticks of unsalted butter. So right now I'm going to just cut these into strips or into like pads of butter. Okay, what we're going to do is pound them into a nice square that we're going to add into our croissant dough. It's kind of thick. So I'm going to hold this here. I have a piece of parchment paper. Ooh, bigger is better, but this is kind of small, but I'll try to make do. I'm going to line up my butter. I want it too big because I know it won't fit in my, put that there. It won't fit in my parchment. Just kind of make it happen. Okay, then I'm going to fold up the sides. I'm going to make a nice package or parcel. A little bit, I'll move this over here this way. Fold in the sides. Then I'm going to take a rolling pin. I have a little small dowel. I'm going to smash this butter up. Ooh, try not to hit it too hard. You're going to break the parchment. See if I could just use my butter. Okay, just gonna smash this. What you're trying to do is trying to soften this butter up. Okay, soften this butter up. If it's a nicer rectangle, this is kind of wonky. Make it a nicer rectangle. Soften this butter. Then you're going to squish it all the way into the corners. What we're trying to do is make this kind of pliable and soft. So when we put it in between the dough, it's going to be a nice layer of butter. So it's a little cracked, so I'm going to take this and transfer this to a better piece of parchment. Okay, just going to kind of costume change. So I don't get any parchment paper in my butter. Okay, so what you want, butter is something, it's called it's pliable. You can move it this way and that way. It's kind of flexible. So right now we just want it to be more pliable. Oh my gosh, maybe it's this part. This is the only parchment paper that couldn't take my croissant beating. Okay, so I think this is good. You want to make sure it's cool enough that you could bend it without cracking. Take my dough out of the fridge so it's not too cold. Okay. Because once this is ready to go, I'm going to integrate it into my dough. You want the dough and the butter temperatures to be the same. Okay, so it took me about 5 minutes. It's not too cold. It's pliable. Okay, now I got my dough. All right, I got my dough out. I am going to roll this out so it's just encloses that butter inside. Okay. I'm going to put a little bit of flour. You don't want to use too much flour for this. A little bit of flour down. Take this out. We're going to enclose this butter block right inside this dough. So I'm going to just kind of roll it out. I'm going to roll it out actually into a kind of a diamond. Okay, I'm going to turn it this way. I'm going to roll out each corner just a little bit. Okay. Keep the middle kind of chubby. You'll see why. You want to wrap this butter block into the same amount of, the same thickness of dough all the way around. So if the sides are thin, I'm going to fold. See, this is a little chubby. So what I'm going to do is take this butter, stick it in the middle of my dough, peel this off. You got to make sure there's no parchment paper stuck because you'll get a piece of paper. There you go. Double check. Okay. There's no dough. So now I'm going to fold these over. Okay. See how it's kind of overlapping on this end? Once I roll this out, this dough will be the same thickness as the other side. Okay, so there, it's nice and enclosed. Now we're going to do something called turns. Okay. It's not sticking, so I'm not going to put any flour. I'm going to flour my rolling pin just a little bit. We're going to roll this out till it's almost the length of this board, and we're going to do something called a turn, which is we're going to create dough, butter layers. So right now inside we have dough, butter, dough. So there's only about 2 layers in this. Okay. So we're going to enclose the fat. And then now we're going to do it the first turn. So what I'm going to do is called a letter fold, or a tri-fold, or a 3-fold. Make sure the middle is a little bit stretched. Okay. I'm going to stretch it out a little bit. Might need a little bit of flour down below. Just a little. Very light flour. And roll it out just a little bit longer. Okay. Oops. Now I'm going to fold it. Oh, no. Shoot. Got to be gentler. More gentle. Then I'm going to fold this up. I like the other side a little bit better. Though you always want to fold the ugly side inside. So this is kind of ugly, so I'm going to fold this up. Okay. And I'm going to fold this down. Okay. So right now I have dough, butter, dough, butter, butter, dough, butter. So now they have 3 layers, okay? So this is what makes the flakiness of your croissants. So this is our first turn. So I'm going to put a little indication that's our first turn. We're going to let this rest in the refrigerator for 30 minutes. And we're going to do the second turn, which we're going to do the same thing in 30 minutes. So we're creating, so we have 3 layers of butter now. After the second turn, we're going to have 27 and so on and so on. But right now, I'm going to let this rest in the refrigerator for 30 minutes and then come back and do the second turn. Okay, so after 30 minutes in the refrigerator, after the first turn, okay, I will unwrap this, put a little bit of flour. You don't want to use too much flour. I'm going to unwrap this. Okay, put a very small amount of flour on it so it doesn't stick anywhere. You don't want it too thick though. Very light flour. Okay, I'm gonna flour my rolling pin a little bit, my little dowel. Okay, so now what I'm gonna do is turn, we rolled it out this way, we folded it, then I'm gonna turn it 90 degrees like this. So we're gonna roll it outwards and out this way. So I'm gonna just roll it out thicker. Okay, just a little bit. So I get the width. Then I'm going to roll it out this way for the length. Okay. So I'm going to roll it out the length of my board. I wanted a good length to create that layer of butter and dough. Okay, so it's a little bit thinner on this side. Flour. I feel like it's sticking a little bit on the bottom, so I'm just going to make sure. You wouldn't want to have it stick to the bottom or it'll rip. So I'm going to just roll it out a little bit wider. Ideally, I always want to roll in one direction so you have more control. Okay, there you go. Okay. Put this way. Okay, so now I have my length and my width. Now I'm going to see which side. Okay, this side is kind of uglier, so I'm going to flip this in. Brush off the excess Feel a little brush off the excess flour if you can. If you put too much, then I'm gonna do another letter fold or a third fold. Okay, this way. Okay. All right. So now from here, I'm gonna wrap this. I'm gonna wrap this up. I saved my plastic wrap because what's the point of getting new plastic wrap? I don't have. I have a small plastic wrap, so I'm just going to make do with just wrapping this up. So that's our second turn. Okay, I'm gonna put 2 fingers in it so I know that's my second turn. Put this back in the refrigerator and let it go for 30 more minutes. Okay, see you in 30. All right, so after the second turn, I let it rest for 30 minutes in the refrigerator. Okay, now I'm gonna do it the last and final book fold. So total, you're gonna do 3, no, book fold, sorry. Trifold or letter fold. So we're gonna do a total of 3 of those folds. Okay, so I turned it again, so it's facing upward this way. So I'm gonna, I don't wanna like roll it out too fast. To squish it, I like to ease my rolling pin down. All right, it's a little bit gooey. So let that rest. The reason why we let it rest for 30 minutes, number 1, to relax the gluten, okay? And also 2, to chill the dough. You don't want this butter, to be too cold and it'll squish out the end. You can see the butter inside. It's cracking a little bit because my dough was a little bit cool, but it should be okay. Okay, so I'm gonna roll this out. It's just a little bit harder to roll it out as you do the turns, is because we're developing the gluten. Okay, if you have bubbles, it's fine if there's a few little bubbles here and there. Okay, so I got my length. Got my width, just kind of make it a little bit wider so it'll make it easier for me to roll out the croissants, okay? All right, so there you go. Last final letter fold. Let's make sure it's nice and tight. Okay, I'm going to wrap this up again. And if you want to make croissants now, you let this rest for another 30 minutes and then you could roll it out, or you could let it rest at however long. You could do it overnight and do it in the morning. I'm going to let this rest a couple hours before the class today. So I will let this rest for about 45 minutes to an hour in the refrigerator, or you can let it rest overnight. Okay?